Though it might not get as much attention as toasted ravioli or gooey butter cake, many people consider the St. Paul sandwich to be a St. Louis hidden gem.
I even know people who are not from that far outside of the metro area who have no idea what I'm talking about when I've mentioned this to them. So it really is something that is very St. Louis at this point.
Magdalene Link is an associate curator at the Missouri History Museum. She says a typical St. Paul sandwich usually includes white bread, some kind of protein, fried egg foo young, lettuce, tomato, pickles, and mayo.
Usually restaurants will offer shrimp, chicken, pork, or beef. There's usually like a deluxe or a special St. Paul on a menu.
Link says though it's delicious, a St. Paul sandwich is not necessarily something that will be served at a fine dining establishment. They're usually found at chop suey or Chinese takeout spots.
Cooking oil and stuff kind of seeps into the bread and makes this like delicious, soft, like, I don't want to say gooey, but like it's fried, but it's not crispy and crunchy feeling to it. Now that I say it out loud, it doesn't sound necessarily appealing. Like, it doesn't sound that great, but like, it's really good. I promise.
Since she made it sound so good, I decided to try it for the first time.
It's interesting, but it works. I mean, the egg and the beef go well together. I like the kind of sour crunchiness of the pickles. It's good.
St. Paul sandwiches are particularly popular in North St. Louis, but they can be found all over the region. A form of the St. Paul sandwich used to be more widespread across the Midwest.
It was actually a really common sandwich on American menus in general, across the US from the late 19th century through like the early to mid 20th century. And they were not on Chinese restaurant menus at that point.
The early sandwich was different than what we would consider a St. Paul today. Previous versions of the sandwich would include some kind of meat scrambled with eggs. When St. Louis Chinese restaurants adopted the sandwich, they made a slight change.
They had on their menu egg foo young. Egg foo young, really similar. What I kind of think happened was that at some point in the mid 20th century, as that sandwich sort of fell out of fashion elsewhere, it gained popularity because Chinese business owners realized that they were already making something that was essentially that same sandwich.
We don't know exactly when or why the sandwich was invented, but it was most likely created in or by someone from St. Paul, Minnesota.
And it wasn't until you got to the 1960s, 1970s when it stopped being common on regular menus or just American standard menus and started being more common on Chinese restaurant menus in the St. Louis area.
And Link says the sandwich wouldn't be around today without the inventiveness of the local Chinese community.
That just, I think, really speaks to the ingenuity of like Chinese restaurant owners in St. Louis. Our food landscape was really heavily shaped by various immigrant groups, and the Chinese community is certainly one of them.
For Living St. Louis, I'm Veronica Mohesky.